Don't worry, AI is going to take care of all of this in the future. Scary thought. In fact, we won't even need a president of college or just hire an AI. Don't have AI do it. Ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Do you have any public comments or union comments this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the educational showcase in the annual institutional assessment report by Dan Town and Mike Youngs.
Chair said we'd like to give you the annual assessment report for the college. You guys know me. I believe most of you know Mike Youngs. He's the chair of the assessment committee, but maybe for the couple new board members. Mr. Youngs is a professor in the English department. Assessment group. So.
Yeah, well, man, that's right.
Yeah, go for it. So I'm going to walk you through the majority of our report. Mike will walk you through the academic side of things. So, and we were talking about we need to remove the slide transitions for the next time we do this presentation. So go ahead, Mike. So assessment for the 24-25 year. After a couple of years of major events around assessments, like Middle States, the creation of new ILOs 2 years ago, and a revision to the 6-year program review cycle. We're settling in now this year, 24-25, into regular assessment activities. And regular assessment activities are centered around some principles, which include collaboration, mature assessment, and closing the loop. And of course, our assessments have always included these principles. And mature assessment is defined as assessing an outcome twice, at least twice in a 6-year cycle. This slide, many board members have seen before, but again, for the new board members, this is kind of how assessment happens at the college, with course assessment being the foundation of all of our assessment activities. And then we move up to the program or the department level, and then ultimately the institution level, where these things feed both up and down. On the course, the program, and the institution level, we assess learning outcomes. That's true at department and division levels as well, because departments will have learning outcomes as well. And then when it comes to things like initiatives, whether they be in a course or in a department, we're always monitoring and assessing the effectiveness of those activities.
Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about the academic assessment process for the year. When you see the year 24-25, what we do is we take the data from last academic year and then report on it in the current academic year. So that's why you'll see those dates. So assessment is about measuring learning. It's not just about grades. Faculty use direct evidence, whether they're standardized tools, embedded assignments, papers, exams, projects, etc. We review them at the program level, at the division level, at the college-wide levels. So I'll just give you a few brief examples that cover only a few of the things that we've done, because there are many, many, many assessments going on at all the division course levels. So these are just meant to be a really just the tip of the iceberg kind of a thing here. So, for example, and using, real data, real accumulated materials. In English 1, over the 24-25 year, we assessed students in research skills. We had 275 students across all the sections in this. So that was a sort of across a large number of course offerings in English 1 or section offerings in English 1. The math faculty were analyzing learning trends concerning algebra specifically across multiple courses that have algebra. I guess probably most of them do in some way. And then criminal justice as, an individual course and also as a program, we're measuring as usual, sort of business as usual, course level learning outcomes through their embedded assessments, as all courses tend to do. So those are some of the examples of the kinds of assessments that were going on in the academic areas, just a very few. So all of this only matters if we do something with this, right? If it leads to action, that's when assessment really matters, and that's where we try to do our best. So, for example, for the English assessment, we found that students were particularly weak in evaluating online sources, which was not really a surprise given the nature of that these days. So, as a response, in conjunction with the library and their information literacy sessions, we added some targeted instruction in terms of searching with databases and just overall online source evaluation, credibility of sources, etc. In math, given what they were looking at across sections, they found that there were some gaps in algebra in different courses. So they increased algebra review in higher courses and had targeted practice and real world applications using math, algebra to strengthen the students for the next levels of math. In criminal justice, and this is always kind of interesting for me, when a course or a program looks at their students and their learning and they find they're meeting the learning outcomes really well, then you ask, well, what can be done, right? Because if they're succeeding, then it doesn't seem like some action come to it. However, in a course, they added a tour of a correctional facility, which was kind of a nice way to drive action and show kind of a workforce application. So even though sometimes, hopefully more than sometimes, we're finding that students might meet the outcomes in the course itself, we can still add other things to take action. And so the continuous improvement sort of cycle or loop, if you want to call it that, is by measuring, analyzing, adjusting through conversation, right? And then, of course, reassessing. So it always is a cycle. That's my sort of really headline news kind of academic assessment.
Like Mike said, that continuous improvement, that's the concept of closing the loop. So on the department side, just some examples of those principles in action or highlighting those principles of assessment. On the left-hand side, we have an assessment from the accessibility services area, and some highlighted areas there, collaboration partners, which were basically our opportunity grants, TRIO, EOP, C-STEP, Jeremy Pertel, who is our counselor on campus, and faculty members. And they were looking to increase student engagement with the coordinator of accessibility services. So partnering with those different people, different departments, different entities on campus to assess the achievement of that goal. On the right-hand side is an example of mature assessment, again, assessing something twice in a 6-year cycle. The Student Affairs Division, by and large, has gone to putting mature assessment right in there, right in the title of their assessment. So in this case, C-STEP wanted to increase student involvement in internships. So this is a follow-up assessment from the previous year assessment, 23-24, where they kind of assessed this, benchmarked this, and then compared the results year over year. On the closing loop side of things, so Mike had mentioned the English faculty or the English students, 275 of them across various sections. working with the library to do that assessment on research skills. So that's on the academic side of things. Here's the library's assessment report about from the library perspective. And again, collaboration with the English department and closing the loop, analyzing data, implementing changes, and then reassessing that flow chart Mike had at the bottom of one of his slides. So in their action plan, they plan to analyze and focus on areas that need improvement. Again, so taking this data, getting this data, analyzing that data, acting on that data, and then going back and seeing what changes, what significant outcomes result from closing that loop.
Dan, are any of the assessments ever compared to other colleges similar to ours and how they do things and maybe in ways they do it better or worse than us?
So I wouldn't say we compare assessment to assessment, but I would say in some areas, whether that be teaching or program, gathering best practices.
Yeah, we'll look into instructional areas sometimes of what other, academic areas might be doing in terms of their information literacy or whatever, and then try to incorporate that. So we probably don't look at their assessment forms, might not even have access to that, but
Yeah.
we will try to use some of those best practices.
So just moving up to the institutional level, the top of that pyramid in previous slides, general education learning outcomes and institutional learning outcomes. So we hadn't mentioned general education outcomes yet. Those are generally measured, assessed at the course and or the program level. The reason that we see them here is because when we came up with when the college created new ILOs, the assessment committee took on an initiative to map the general education outcomes to the institutional learning outcomes, just to make assessment of both of those a little bit more streamlined. So again, the 24-25 year, in regard to the ILOs, we're assessing 3 different ILOs. That's not typical. We usually do 1 or 2 a year, but because we are new to these ILOs and going through them the first time in a 6-year cycle, we needed to add at least one, this ad hoc one about technology, to just get the cycle back in sync. So. In regards to ILO assessment, the process that we follow, we create a subcommittee of the assessment committee, or really the campus as a whole, because you don't have to be a member of the assessment committee to participate in institutional learning outcomes assessment. So that subcommittee has been formed. I'm on that committee, so we met earlier in February. We'll do some data collection. We have follow-up meetings. The next one's in March. We have another one scheduled for April, in which we'll analyze that data and create an assessment report from the analysis of that data. And then 2 reports due, one back to the assessment committee, so that committee can discuss and refine as necessary, and then ultimately report those results to the college assembly. Also, assessment of the assessment. So always trying to improve or and get a pulse on assessment as a whole on campus and how people feel about the assessment process and having them have input into the process. The assessment committee did a short survey in the fall of 2025, 5 questions asking people's role in the assessment, instructions for collecting data, the alignment with those institutional objectives, because again, making sure this stuff is always aligned and complementing up and down that pyramid is important to us. And, are we measuring what we intend to measure? And then some open-ended questions. And you can see primarily in questions 1 through 4, that people either feel like we are or are mostly doing the things that we need to do. And again, give them opportunity for some feedback in question number 5.
And we're using that feedback, the open-ended feedback right now in the assessment committee to think about different processes moving forward.
We both, there are only two choices, yes and mostly.
No. Those would be the.
That's a good idea, though.
That's a great idea. That means we'd be 100%. We'd be golden.
Much trust.
Yeah, what we did here is we just pulled out the two that,
Okay.
that indicated that we were meeting the objective, so to speak. It is good. So moving forward in this year that we're in now, 25, 26, as Mike said, identify and implement potential improvements identified in that survey. So using those open-ended answers in question number 5, the expansion of Weave software. It's an assessment software that's primarily used on the student affairs side of the house right now. The assessment committee is investigating moving that and using that, implementing that over on the academic affairs side. Completion of the SESI and the companion faculty survey. So we're in contact with the folks from University of Texas who designed the survey, and that will be happening spring 2026, more specifically in early April, first 2 weeks of April.
What is that, Dan?
The Community College Survey of Student Engagement. Only took me 2 months to remember that. But 53 courses, representative sample to gauge student involvement, student engagement. There are a couple new SUNY general education outcomes that will go into effect in the fall of 2026. So the assessment committee is discussing that in ways that those general education outcomes need to be incorporated into programs. And of course, the next institutional learning outcomes to be assessed in 25, 26, following that same process that I outlined earlier. And then here's just those ILOs. Like I said, we're back to one. We're going to be back on a regular schedule, a more manageable schedule, and the corresponding general education outcomes that were mapped back in fall 2023. So the arts, civic engagement, world languages, you can see how they kind of map over to global awareness through diverse perspectives, cultural sensitivity, and ethical points of view. That's the highlights of the activities in 24, 25, and where we're going, what we're working on this year in 25, 26, and happy to take any additional questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe this is for Mike, talking about improvement, quality improvement.
Sure.
Do students receive a syllabus for each course?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all the syllabi are embedded in their courses in Brightspace, and typically they're also handed a paper copy on the first day of class.
So does the assessment, when you get through, does it inform the syllabus that you're teaching,
Well,
what they're told they're going to learn?
Maybe the other way around, the syllabus will have the course learning outcomes listed. It'll have any program learning outcomes. It'll have any general education learning outcomes listed on there. So when a professor would assess that course, they would use those learning outcomes in the assessment report and have artifacts for each of the learning outcomes, how students performed those learning outcomes, how they analyzed that performance, and what actions they intend to do going forward, what actions they already did for the last time they assessed.
Thanks.
Dan, how many are actually on the committee?
Good question. Take you through. So there's a representative from each academic division.
Right.
There's the ALO, there's an administrator, there's a student representative. Students, we're doing a better job of getting student representation on the committee. And we have the ALO is ex officio, and another ex officio member of that committee is institutional research. So we've got 8, there's,
8 to 10.
well, yeah, I was gonna say something like 12.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 15th? Motion by Tyree, seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Move on to reports. The only thing that I really have is, they, changed the date for the, meeting with SUNY people in Albany. And it's in March, and I'm not sure which date it was, March 11th.
Wednesday.
But if anybody's interested, I could pass that on to them. And also, we have our golf, we also sponsor a golf hole every year as board members. Cost is
Sorry.
cost is 35. Cost is $35. So when you can, get Maria the checks. Appreciate it. And that concludes the chair's report, and I'll pass it on to the president. Oh, one last thing I want to say is, you don't think the people know what's going on in the board meetings, but I know last meeting we talked about the furnace and it was out in the public. And I was approached by several people saying that, yeah, we need to replace the furnace because they said it would cost us a lot more money later on. So people are listening to what's going on. With that, I'll pass it on to the president.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first item I want to discuss is at your place, there is a flyer for our Founder's Day. So this is coming up on April 2nd. We're all cordially invited to attend. This is a day where the staff, all of the staff gather to engage in professional development and fellowship and food as well. So last year, it was earlier in the year. The weather caused us to cancel it, so put it in April this year. So hopefully we will be able to proceed as usual. So again, if you are able to, you are more than welcome to attend any of the day or all of the day. And we certainly understand if you're not able to do so as well. I have a few other items to run through. Okay. I know that some of you studiously read everything that I send you, but for those of you who might have missed it or didn't feel like reading it, just want to review a few items. The executive budget proposal is out, so that's typically a signal of where negotiations are at least going to start. It's very similar to previous years. The funding floor is being proposed by the executive again, so this would be the third consecutive year, I believe, that the funding floor is proposed to make a temporary modification to the traditional community college funding formula that is written into law. So the budget legislation has superseded that the last several years. So we're certainly happy to see that there, and that's been a popular one with the Assembly and the Senate as well. The Reconnect program, which is the free community college for certain programs for adults. They're looking to expand that and invest an additional $8.5 million there. One of the primary areas that we've been lobbying is in having them expand the number of programs available. The governor listened and did expand the number of programs. Just so happens that most of those are programs we don't offer. She's also proposing that to lift the restriction on the nursing program. So right now, the Reconnect program is you can't have a college degree, but for nursing, she's proposing to eliminate that requirement. So if you do have a college degree in something else, you can access the Reconnect program to try to address the nursing shortage. There's an expansion of the ASAP program, and we've talked about this before. We had applied to be in that program this year. We were selected for next year, and in fact, Arlene and I had a meeting last week. And Arlene's been working with her team on the proposal that we have to, all things SUNY we have to propose. So she's been working with that, and we'll get that in, and assuming that that all works through the process, we'll have that in place this summer for the fall. We are a member of the Empire State Service Corps. She's looking to expand that, invest additional dollars in that. And historically, she's been supportive, and actually all the executives have been supportive of the capital improvements, and she's continuing that trend. So our request for capital planning here, capital funding is in there. That's also popular with the Assembly and the Senate, so that's a positive. The rest of it has more to do with state operated campuses. So, and then I'm guessing that you all received the NYCCT materials, and we did put this in your place. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, but NYCCT is largely supporting the executive proposal and has been actively involved. I don't know if Ed, if you went down to lobby day or.
No, I did not, but
So lobby day was last.
the fourth,
Yeah.
and I had to be in Syracuse, so.
So I know we had good representation from the college sector. Shawnee was there. Shawnee was not here, but Shawnee, our student trustee, was there. That's, they made the rounds, and our message is definitely being heard. We had the Montgomery County State of the County address was here today. Senator Fahey was here, Assemblyman Smolin was here. Several of you were here, so that was nice to see. And I did have an opportunity to talk to both Assemblyman Smolin and Senator Fahey, and both of them, expressed their unwavering support for community colleges, and both of them have been strong supporters of community colleges. So I know Maria's been doing a good job of sharing some of our news in the local media with you. So we had, there was an article recently about the Fulton County vote on our energy project. There was an article about the chancellor's pop-up visit, which was fine. It's nice to have a little bit more notice of those things, but
I have a
yes.
question on that, Greg. I
Yeah.
know, I have really noticed a lot of the good percentage of publicity that the press that the college is getting. Are we generating it? Because I know they don't seek.
Yes.
Okay, so kudos to who's ever generating it, because then the articles turn into something that really are well done.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to share for that. I have one other topic I want to share with you. As you know, our one of the most significant costs that we have as an institution is our health insurance. That is something we have to address moving forward. It's more than a third of our budget is spent on insurance. And recently, I attended a meeting that the community college business officers put together. They've been thinking about this as a sector, and they are considering what it might look like if New York SUNY community colleges in particular were able to form a consortium or a pool. We've been part of trusts before. We were part of the Montgomery County Trust. We were part of a 44 trust out of Western New York with mixed results, leading us back to where we are today. We're in a self-funded situation. And I'm not going to go through all these slides because there's a lot of them, but just sort of the differences between some of these things, where you have the consortium that's a collection that it's really about buying to scale and having enough lives in your pool to get more attractive pricing and also sort of mitigate the individual experience and history that you might have in your own institution. So that's, you know, and a pool or trust works in a similar manner, as opposed to, you know, some of the other, you know, the traditional markets where you're experiencing, you know, either we're considered a large employer, doesn't feel like it, but then that impacts our ability to, our own experience is heavily influencing our rates. One of the things the business officers are talking about is, you know, additionally, if we combined property and casualty with our health, you know, what would that look like? There, you know, this is all conceptual, by the way. This is just, they're out there looking, they engaged with Gallagher to see what this might look like. And, you know, they're coming back with ideas that would give us more consistent renewals, improve predictability by having a larger population. It's similar to what, you know, and Jack has talked about what NYMER has done in the past, and what they were founded on. So, except they're property casualty, and, you know, this is health. So, you know, of course, they're talking about how the pool or trust, because of course this is the direction they want us to go, is the best of all worlds. So fully insured, you know, you're paying all the premiums and you're stuck with that. Self-funded, which is what we currently are. You know, it allows us to have good years if we have low utilization. And then there's years like the last two where we had bad years because we had high claims utilization. And the pool allows you to mute that by being a larger group of bodies. So really, and of course, they're going to tell you that over time, your costs are going to be lower. So all of this gets to what they want to do, which is conduct a feasibility study. Right now, they're talking to the State University of New York about funding that. So their system administration, the business officers, that is, are lobbying to have SUNY pay for this feasibility study to see if this makes sense. SUNY's all about shared services and all about ways to find efficiencies. So we think there's a high degree of likelihood that they are going to fund such a feasibility study. And then that would, you know, we don't have to participate in the study. There's probably no harm in us participating in it to see, you know, what it might look like for us. So there's more to come on this, but I wanted to raise this awareness that we just had the meeting a couple weeks ago. And now they're lobbying to see if SUNY will conduct this feasibility study. And, you know, some months down the road, though, if they do in fact conduct it, then, you know, we'll have something to report on. But I wanted to raise your awareness of this discussion that's been going on. And that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, President Truckenmiller. Student trustee Arlene.
So I'm reporting for Shawnee, who couldn't be here tonight. She did attend the February 4th lobby day, and she reports out that she was divvied up into a group that included Adirondack Community College, Schenectady Community College, North Country, and Hudson Valley. They met with 9 or 10 very supportive representatives, and that everybody was very, very supportive of the initiatives of SUNY. She also has shared at your place, you will find the articles of governance from the Student Senate Association. You have a 2015 version, as well as the revised version that they've put together in October. I just want to highlight the very small changes between the two. The first change is to change in title of the advisor to the Student Senate Association. It is now the Student Involvement Coordinator, and previously it's on page 3, the Coordinator of Student Activities. Same position, just a title change that we have done with that position on the campus. The next change, also on page 3, students used to be able to vote for their representatives in the fall. They have now in the new version that they would like them to be voted on in April, so that they're starting the academic year with the representatives in place, with the student officers in place. On page 5, not that you necessarily need to go there, but they removed, there's a section in the old version on student-wide information meetings. That's no longer relevant. So they removed that completely. And there was a sentence in the old version that said that the minutes were stored on a website. And they changed that to just say the minutes are available upon request. And lastly, on page 6, there was a very short statement in the old version about the Roberts Rules of Order. And on the new version on page 6, it gave a little bit more description on what those Robert Rules of Order are.
Do you need a motion to approve this? Is that fine?
Yeah, I believe.
Okay, so I need a motion. Motion by, Jeff, seconded by Taipei. All those in favor? All right. Opposed, hearing none, motion pass. Thank you, Arlene. And we'll move on to the foundation report with Taipei Gaza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everyone. The Thriller Gallery is featuring a group of artists named the Arts Factory from Montgomery County, and this is non-profit organization. Their mission is to support, encourage, and cultivate local artists, artisan, and venue for the Mohawk Valley, New York State. And their art shows all over, and they have a workshop, exhibits, and right now their work is at the gallery. It started from January 26 to March 13. The reception was February 6 from 5 to 7. If anybody missed that, there's available by appointment. The gallery is open from 9 to 4. Next item, turf soccer field, and now they call it Delaney Field. I'm sure you all saw the picture that with the check and everything. We are very grateful to them. And there is another group, a recent group that has also the right of choosing whether the bleachers or dugout. There are other places available for naming opportunity. If there is anybody is interested, is available. Annual appeal and Giving Tuesday to date raised $95,000. Thanks to Bill Winsman and Roberto Winsman, that they donate $5,000 and encourage everybody to match it between foundation board member and trustee. And from that amount, which foundation raised $15,000, and out of $15,000, 85% of it came from foundation board member and 60 from our board. I encourage everybody, if they still time, the amount is not important. The participation is very important for us to have 100% participation. Last but not least, Fulton-Montgomery Community College 32nd golf tournament is going to take place May 21st at the Fox Run in Johnstown. The packet was made February 11th. Before even they made the packet, they already have 5 foursomes registered. If anybody is interested, please, before they sign up for it, before it is going very fast. And some sponsor for this event, Miller Printing, Prestige, Chevrolet, and Peter Betts, John, and Sunday Blackman, and Mangiano Chevrolet, and that's about it. If anybody else is interested to become a sponsor, Foundation, be more than glad to accept that. If there's no question, I will conclude my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions for trustee Tybee? If not, move on to committee reports with finance trustee Beck.
You all received the detailed package, and I didn't see anything. The only thing I noticed was a increase over last year in, fuel and utilities, but then us at this table has not had an increase in fuel or utilities. So there was nothing. That's the end of my report here.
We're on track to just completely blow that budget out.
Do you have any questions for trustee Beck? If not, trustee Beck, we'll move on to buildings and grounds with trustee Landrio.
You want to start that off with?
Sure, happy to. So I've been making the rounds. Fulton County approved the increased contribution to support the project at their February meeting. So I met with the finance committee at the end of January, moved to the full board, and they did approve that, as well as the paving project. It's really one of last year's projects. Was at Montgomery County Tuesday with trustee Beck, and the committee did advance the resolution to support to their full legislative body next Tuesday. We anticipate that it will be approved. They seem to be very supportive. So I have also received approval through the SUNY Office of Capital Facilities, and the Division of Budget has approved reallocating funds from old projects and things to make sure that the funding is the state match is in place as well. So we have a motion for you this evening to approve that, and once we get through all of the approvals next week, then we will take the next step, assuming everything goes.
The paving was also approved by Montgomery County.
It was, yes.
Well, it moves to the full board.
Moves to the full board. That's correct.
So we have a motion tonight. Thank you, Craig. The president recommends that the board of trustees authorize the president to sign the task order, National Grid, the contract with Central Business Solutions for measurement and verification services in related financial documents at a total project cost not to exceed $4,752,825.08. This is in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
I do have one final or one additional piece that I may have inadvertently glossed over. As part of those discussions with both counties, we are not, both resolutions state explicitly that we will not bring planned projects to them next year or the year after, nor will we request sponsor increases, operating increases from either sponsor for the next 2 years. So they're essentially giving us, what they already approved and the next 2 years upfront. So I know I communicated that out, but I just want to make sure that it's fair. Everyone understood that. Yep. It is fair.
Any other questions? Not, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passed.
Don't let it go to 9 cents. I love that. It says, don't let it go to 9 because
It's explicitly stated.
I'm telling you.
I just want to say before I end my report, I want to congratulate Greg and his team for an outstanding job putting this together, and also fellow trustees that attended meetings with both counties. This is really, really important to us. I think we realized that last month. And Greg has really worked exceptionally hard to get this through. So feel your credit.
I really would like to echo trustee Landrio's comments too, because you brought you brought a problem, but you brought a solution and an answer of how, at least for the counties, could look at it without them having to figure totally how. So I totally agree with you, Jim.
Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just like I said, public's watching too, because I was approached by a number of people. You know, you got to replace those boilers. Thank you. Move on to academic affairs with trustee Wilson.
Report here that Mr. Grande prepared for me. Thank you very much. Larry Zuckerman, Professor of Business, and Charlene Dibus, Assistant Professor of Business, served as panelists for Financial Education at Home, K through 12 college, benefits and pitfalls as part of the Foundation's Fifth Friday Speaker Series on January 30th. I attended that and it was wonderful. It was a great, they did a great job. Joe Marcuccio, Professor of Technology, participated in the Saratoga Arts opening reception for High School All-Stars Art Exhibition held on January 9th and the 10th. Through the Mohawk Valley Community College Empowers Grant, FM will be hosting a security guard training on the weekends of April 18th, 19th, and the 25th and the 26th. Through the grant, additional options will be forthcoming. That's a great thing. I've heard a couple of positive things in the community. I actually heard about that before Mr. Grande provided it. So word's getting out there. The next CNA class is scheduled for May the 18th. An online form has been created to ease the application process for potential students. Christy Davis, Director of External Partnerships and Applied Learning, is pleased to announce FM has 19 interns and 2 co-ops registered this semester for various majors. We have 13 co-cal students off-site in the spring semester in areas including phlebotomy, medical office, cannabis cultivation, dispensary and management, veterinarian assistant, dental assistant, and IT support. Thank you to our employer partners for mentoring and supervising our interns. On January the 8th, FM joined the ARC Lexington to celebrate 11 direct support professionals who completed the DSP micro-credential program offered through FM in partnership with New York State Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. The program is offered fully online to accommodate working adults, and OPWDD sponsors all tuition, fees, books, and even laptops for those who need technology. Please see the full report for the recognized students or employees. And that concludes my account.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Do we have any questions for trustee Wilson? If not, we'll move on to student affairs with trustee Perry.
Full report is in our packet, and here are some highlights. The women's basketball Lady Raiders had a 62-57 road victory over Mohawk Valley Community College to improve to an 8-0 in conference play. The win secured the best record in conference play in Mountain Valley Conference. They will host their final game of the season this coming Saturday against Herkimer. Instant Admit Week welcomed 21 prospective students. Spring New Student Orientation welcomed 66 new students. Financial aid reports that 1,658 FAFSAs were received for the 2025-26 with 8.1 million packaged in total aid. The SUNY Reconnect program funded 49 students as last dollar in, with 124 eligible students receiving financial aid overall. The TRIO Student Support Services completed and submitted the annual performance reports to the federal government required for continued funding. And Direct Support Professionals, DSP program recognized 12 DSP Level 1 graduates on the 8th of January. That is all.
Thank you, trustee Perry. Do we have any questions for trustee Perry? Now we'll move on to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Chucker Miller.
Thank you. As I mentioned to the board, our Chief Diversity Officer. It's Flor Tres-Palacios. She was unable to join us this evening, but she will be with us next month. She is getting her feet underneath her, meeting with her committee. She's met with me today and is planning some trainings for staff in the coming days regarding some of the issues around DEI. So there'll be more of
Any questions? If not, we'll move on to sustainability with John.
Good evening. Should be in your packet, some of the things that we've been doing. Most of the focus at this point is putting together a FMCC sustainability plan. So we're continuing to work on that with the Sustainability Council. And we're going to try and pair it with the UN 17 sustainability goals, which is kind of cool. I've talked to the Environmental Science and Forestry Program up at ESF, which is like the flagship, and they've actually done that very well. So hey, we're looking forward to putting this together and putting together a plan that'll infuse sustainability into our culture here.
That's it. Any questions? If not, we'll move on to accreditation with Dan Tom.
So just a brief update on the strategic planning process that the college is currently underway with. The Strategic Planning Committee continues to meet. They're really in the heart of their work, which is drafting, deciding on revising priority statements, goal statements, and objectives that support those goals and priorities. So they have draft priority statements and goal statements, and have moved on to taking a look at those objectives that support those proposed goals. The co-chairs, myself and Ruth Scott, professor of mathematics, continue to meet and in contact with the leadership team to get their input and their guidance on the process. And we anticipate having those objective statements done by March. We're going to be twice more this month in February, just to kind of accelerate that work a little bit. We're meeting on a bi-weekly basis, but for the next couple of weeks, we're going to meet on a weekly basis just to keep things moving in the right direction.
one item to add to Dan's report, and that is we were recently notified by Middle States that they've moved up their deadline for submission of required documents, specifically our audited financials. I've reached out directly to them, and they've set a deadline of March 13th for that. I reached out to them because we typically don't have audited financials by March 13th of any year, and we certainly won't this year. I'm anticipating auditors in April to meet with you, but typically we like to do that in March. But even last year, we wouldn't have met this new deadline. I have seen no reason why they moved it up. It used to be August, then they moved it up to May, and now they're saying March. So I will continue to poke them to get some sort of response on what happens, because we certainly cannot be the only institution in this situation, particularly because auditors of community colleges on a fiscal year similar to ours are waiting for the New York State retirement system to release their numbers before they can do their work. So I'm convinced that we're not the only one, the only SUNY community college that's not going to have audited financials. I don't know what their reaction to that is going to be. I mean, it could be that they say, well, this is our deadline, and now you're going to have to do a supplemental information report because you missed our deadline. And
in your inquiry stating to them about the deadline, they said, look for instructions next week.
Yeah. Right.
Which they did send.
Yeah, they sent
The
us
instructions
instructions.
was what they're doing
Yeah.
mid-March.
Get it done by the end of close of business, 5 PM on March 13th. So, like I said, I will reach back out to them. They're notoriously hard to get a hold of. They don't have an actual physical office, so you basically are stuck emailing them, and if they choose not to, and they may be internally rallying, because like I said, if I'm the only one that responded to them, I wanted the board to be aware of that, because if in fact they just proceed as they say they are going to, there will be some sort of letter that's sent to us that says, you know, you gotta send us this stuff, so.
Does it have to be your current year audited?
Specific, yeah.
Could it be your most recent audited?
That was my
financials?
first reaction
That's what I would
too.
say.
That was my first reaction too, and I went back and reread it, and they were specific.
Okay.
So, yeah, they have our financials from, our audited financials from last year. But they were specific in their requests. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that.
So count on a nasty letter. Okay, thank you, Dan. Move on to personnel with trustee McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things. The full report's in your packet. We've got Kelly Natoli, Principal Account Clerk, who's retiring after 20 years. Her effective retirement date is April 25th of this year. A couple of vacancies and searches in progress. We've got the Student Success Services Academic Advisor, the Director of Dual Enrollment, the Controller. All those three are in progress. And then the Vice President for Administration and Finance is in the planning stages. And that pretty much concludes my report.
Any questions for trustee McMahon? If not, the lonely person policy. Trustee Collins.
Thank you, Chair. The only policy related change that I'm aware of was already discussed, the Articles of Governance. So I have nothing else to report.
Thank you. No questions? If not, we'll move on to other business. Do we have any other business to be brought before the board? Not, entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
That's okay. That's why I was reading.
I'll have something for you.
I'll
have something for you next month.
It'll come one of these days.
Just the headline of it, that's.
Yeah.